Then I took a smidge and applied it down there.
This one's wife. Not invited, turns up anyway. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. The narcissist functions with a sense of entitlement and doesn't recognize boundaries. You, for example, will recognize boundaries. The extent of that boundary recognition varies from person to person, but essentially it is governed by your emotional empathy and having been taught appropriate behavior. Your emotional empathy causes you to take into consideration, often subconsciously, the impact of your behaviors on other people. So, for instance, you don't just walk into somebody's house uninvited, you will knock on the door. When you approach that house, you don't think to yourself, oh, hang on a moment, I can't walk in there uninvited, I need to knock first, don't I? You just do that. You knock because your emotional empathy has moulded your behavior to recognize the boundary of somebody else's property so that you don't just walk in. If that person is well known to you, and you know that they don't mind that you walk in, and you habitually have done so in the past, your behavior is altered because that boundary is different with that particular person. But you don't just march willy-nilly into anybody's house uninvited. Similarly, you don't habitually take things that don't belong to you. You recognize the boundary that it is the property belonging to another, and your emotional empathy guides you not to take things that don't belong to you, and if you wish to borrow something, that you ask to borrow it. With the narcissist, there are no such considerations, save for the purposes of facade management. But the default setting for the narcissist is access all areas. Remember, in the world of the narcissist is the most important person in the universe, which means they are able to go wherever they want. Furthermore, the narcissist default setting is that everyone's lives are brighter for the purposes of the fact that the narcissist has turned up. Their very presence brings joy into the lives of those around them, so why wouldn't they want to be met by the narcissist? Why wouldn't they want the narcissist to attend their party or event? This means that the narcissist will often behave in a brazen manner of turning up to things to which they were not invited, overstaying their welcome, entering areas which weren't reserved for them, approaching someone to ask if they can come to something where it was clear that the intention was that they were not to do so. And this one's wife has form in that regard. She sharpens the elbows and turns up because her narcissism tells her that she belongs. Objectively, she is nobody important. She's gained some importance by virtue of who she married, but if you were to look at her intrinsically as an individual, what does she actually bring? Nothing. No insight, no informed observations, no educated observations to be provided to other people, no skills or talent. Accordingly, you wouldn't think, oh great, although I didn't invite her, she's here, because now we're all going to benefit from her presence. But she thinks that she does bring something extra, because her narcissism tells her. And naturally, because her narcissism has to pursue the prime aims, it forces her, it drives her to go to places where she's not invited in order to assert control, draw fuel, etc. We have another instance of this as reported by the Daily Mail, as this one's wife is described as a surprise guest at Kerry Washington's 48th birthday party. The Daily Mail's use of surprise guest is journalese for wasn't actually invited. The report states, this one's wife was a surprise guest at Kerry Washington's 48th birthday party this week, days after a damning Vanity Fair article about her and husband Prince Harry was published. The Mail wasting no time whatsoever to get another dig in against this one's wife and Harry. The Duchess of Sussex was captured very briefly in a fun video. showing birthday cakes being presented to Washington, who was also joined by a newly single Jessica Alba. Now, Jessica Alba is certainly somebody that this one's wife would love to get near by way of character trait acquisition and residual benefits, because Jessica Alba is a billionaire. And this one's wife, noting that they are of a similar age, would think, this is the type of person that I should be fraternizing with, and no doubt pestered her. The report continues by explaining that this one's wife, dressed in a sleeveless white top, was filmed smiling and clapping. Yes, ha ha ha, the old seal clap came out as they sang happy birthday at the intimate dinner party held on Thursday. Now, you'll be wondering, hang on a second, HG. This one's wife is at this birthday party, but how so that she was uninvited but turned up anyway? Two significant clues. First is the use of surprise guest, which, as I mentioned before, is journalese for not invited, but also, when you look at the photographs from the event, Washington and Alba shared, as the Mail reports, numerous photos and clips from the festivities. However, the former working royal was not visible in any of them. Now, you and I all know that this one's wife is not shy about being filmed or photographed. Indeed, her narcissism causes her to seek out that camera lens so that she can stare straight down it. And the fact that they didn't publicize any photographs with her or have any photographs taken with this one's wife also underpins the fact that she was not invited. The clip, which really is a blink and you'll miss it moment, shows, I think, a donut birthday cake being brought in, and this one's wife sat at the table in a white top, and the still taken from that video you can see in the thumbnail, and she sits there and gets out the oversized man hands and gives it the old as she starts clapping. It's evident that she was not invited, and she still turns up. She presumably was a plus one of somebody else, and Washington and Alba probably were not particularly keen to have her there, such is her much reduced status. There are pictures, for instance, of Jessica Alba with another lady that can be seen, and there are pictures of Kerry Washington posing with a cake and party balloons, but this one's wife just appears in the video, which was shown on Jessica Alba's Instagram, briefly appearing in the corner of the picture. We all know that this one's wife loves to ensure that she's seen, and here, this is another example of her narcissism driving her to be desperately involved in certain events by turning up. She won't have just, of course, sniffed out that, oh, Kerry Washington's having a birthday party, I'll just go. Although some narcissists would be that brazen, that's not quite her style. What she does is she clings on to somebody else and worms her way in with an invitation. We've seen before through WME that their clients were encouraged to invite her along to events, thus enabling her to muscle in on the events to which she wasn't actually directly invited. Here, it'll be the case that she was the plus one of somebody else, that she said to them, can I come with you? They mentioned that they were going to the birthday party and that she inveigled her way in with a typical sharpened elbow approach of the narcissist. It demonstrates once again that she's not liked, it demonstrates once again that her stock has fallen so far, and it demonstrates once again the sense of entitlement and lack of boundary recognition of the narcissist. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.